Good evening, everyone. This is an input session about instructional strategies for teaching productive skills. You are the co-host now. In order to admit people who arrive late, you can admit them.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay.
So my name is Mohamed Ali Khalaf. I am a teacher trainer at the Future University in Egypt, and I am a CELTA tutor under Cambridge Assessment English umbrella. And I'd like to welcome everyone here. Thank you for waiting. I know I'm a little bit late, trying to fix the live issue. Good evening, Riham, Nurhan, and everybody. Okay. So I know that you are familiar with this poster. So what are the productive skills? As everybody knows, it's like speaking and writing. How do we teach them? I'd like you to write a sentence or a phrase in the chat box. How do we teach writing and speaking? What comes to your mind once you hear the word teaching a writing lesson or teaching a speaking lesson? Just one phrase or one sentence. Okay, lovely. Output, workshops, productivity, production, output and input. I love that because without input, output will be very difficult. Production. So in order to be very fair and very honest with you guys, I am a big fan of the model approach. Allow me to tell you why I'm a big fan of it. The very simple reason is I provide the students with something that they can imitate or they can copy. After all, it is not a test. We are building the skill. So you don't need to test them. Yes, process approaches and other approaches are okay, acceptable with higher levels, but I still like the effect of the model approach. And today, I'm going to take you through a writing lesson through the CELTA eyes, like the same way we do it on the CELTA course. I'm going to share it with you in detail. So it's something that you can really do in your own classes, or you can apply the ideas you are getting. Because I love my sessions to be quite practical. I'm not going to talk to you about the theory behind the model approach. I'm going to show it to you. So this is the task that we are going to give to our students. Azza, are you able to admit people into the meeting, or is it only the host, a host privilege?
No, I think I'm allowed to.
Okay, that's
Please,
great.
Dr. Muhammad, make Azza co-host or make me co-host because
You
we
choose.
cannot.
Oh,
You
I'm not. You made someone like another person. Can you
Ahmed?
please
Oh,
make me or
oh,
and Mahmoud a
I'm so
co-host?
sorry.
That's okay.
So Ahmed signed in and replaced your name when I was clicking on make co-host. That is crazy. I am crazy. And Slim as well.
Okay, thank you.
So did I click on record or only? Okay, that's the task that we are going to give to our students in this writing class. I want you to imagine yourself in a writing class providing the students with this task. So the final product will be a formal email the students will come up with to arrange for accommodation. Before we go through the lesson together, I'd like to show you how I phrased my aims. So the first part is the main aim, or the first aim is my main objective. I phrased it this way. by the end of the lesson, students will be better able to do something. So actually, I didn't say the students will be able to, because you cannot guarantee that. So you need to keep it a little bit measurable, that something you can measure. So do what? Write a formal email to arrange for accommodation. And the topic today is hotels and accommodation. And I have a sub-aim to support this main aim, which is the needed vocabulary for writing in the same context. So before we dive in the lesson, I'd like to send you to breakout rooms now. And if you want to take a picture of the screen in order to remember the wording of the task, you can do that. You're going to speak with each other about your idea, how you're going to stage this lesson. What are you going to do in order to achieve this aim? And the students come up with a lovely email written at the end. So your job is to discuss ideas about the stages. What are you gonna do first, second, third, until you arrive at the writing stage? So are you going to discuss details or only the stages? I'm gonna do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Stages.
Okay. So you can speak with each other. You don't have to go through details. Just see each other's ideas. How are you gonna organize this this lesson in order to achieve its aim? Okay. I'll give you 5 minutes here. And the room will have maximum 4. Okay, ready, steady, go. So welcome back, everyone. Can you type in the chat box, how many stages did you think of? Like only the number of the stages. Each group. I need one representative from each group. Like you don't have to.
Okay, can I talk?
Yourselves, who's
Hi.
Sarah? It's quite noisy around. You
Oh, yes. Okay, someone else can talk with my group, no problem.
can just type the numbers of the stages in each.
We agreed
group,
on
like,
three stages.
okay, thank you, Sarah. And you are
Okay,
brave
thank
to
you.
attend the session like around this noise. I know.
Thank
Type.
you. Thank you. I'm focusing with you.
Mute yourself, please. So Dina, Musallam, what about you? What are the stages, Dina, in your group?
Dr. Mohammed, I was in the same group with Sarah. And we
Okay, what are
talked
the names of
over.
the stages? Yes.
Yes, first we talked about the objectives and what we are going to write about. Um, either
Okay, no problem, Dina. Thank you. Nisma, would you like to add anything?
Dr. Muhammad, just we spoke, me and my team, we spoke about the objective as just, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. What are we going to include? Like vocab, hostel, hotel, and this kind of reservation, this kind of vocab. Then we went,
Okay, good.
we went to the structure, how we're going to structure this essay, like intro to body paragraph and then a conclusion. Then vocab, we're gonna address that. We're gonna try to write down sentence, how we're gonna write down the this statement, the first sentence in each paragraph, and the last thing is the last stage is the revision. That's it.
Good ideas, very good ideas.
Thank you.
Okay, Amir, would you like to add anything? Unmute, my friend. Ahmed, are you ready to add something?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I think first step we can teach an email from our life, real life, and I show email like from my email, and I will make a decision with my students first, and then I will make a discussion with my students for 3 steps. Decision to
allow me to stop you here, Ahmed. Thank you. These are very good ideas.
Thank you.
Allow me to show you or to share with you the stages as I wrote them. And we're going to talk in detail about each one. I'm even going to show you excerpts of my lesson plan. So the lead in, this is a crucial stage in any lesson. So whatever you are teaching, you cannot start by asking them to write or telling them that we're writing an email today about or to arrange for accommodation. This is not how we start our lessons. I'm going to give you an example later. The second stage is a model. And the model here will be a real email written to arrange for accommodation. And I will give them this as a reading task. a very simple reading task, like a simple reading question, like for gist or for specific information or one in detail question. The third stage is called genre analysis and useful language. And you can actually divide these two stages into two. Then the fourth stage is writing. Now they need to write. And finally, feedback. So some of you are actually wondering now, why did I provide you with this picture on the right-hand side? Can you guess why I added this picture to this slide?
Mr. Mohammed, sorry for interrupting. It could be scaffolding or something like that. This word.
Okay. Do you agree, guys? Why did I add like a picture of a scaffold or a scaffolded or a scaffolding in the slide? Well done. Okay. Excellent. Yes, Radwa, Nisma, Sarah, Hadir, lovely, Iman. Okay, very good answers. So there is a concept in teaching that we call scaffolding, because you can't start like asking them to do something without supporting them. So each stage of this lesson will help them or will link to the other. So the lead in is related to the model, and the model will help us analyze the email and extract the useful language. Then once we do that and provide them with a written record on the board of the useful language and the content that they need to include, they will be able to start writing. And once they finish writing, there will be feedback. So if we move to the first stage.
Mr. Mohammed.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
I told my co-workers that I can show the students the two version of the email, of the same email, the correct one and incorrect one, to show my students the difference between how to write a correct email and incorrect email. Am I right?
Yes, but that depends on what are you teaching them, like how you're describing one email as incorrect. Can you elaborate more here?
Okay.
What do you mean by incorrect?
Incorrect in the format.
Okay.
In the word choice, for example.
So organizational wise or organization wise and Lexis wise?
Yes, Lexis wise, yes. Both.
Okay, that task might really draw their attention to notice the difference. So you can do it in different ways. This one is a good idea as well.
Yes, and how to show them how to write the relevant point here and irrelevant point. Some emails that could include some irrelevant points.
Good idea. If it is done right, it will be very effective.
Okay, thank you.
So Isra, your camera turned on.
Mr. Mohammed, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, hello, my name is Radwa, and I think that you know me because I have attended a lot of sessions for you.
Okay.
Which very informative. Okay, my question is, this writing, is it part, it could be a part of a whole unit, or just it is a lesson?
It depends. Depends.
Okay, in two cases, do I have to follow the same steps, or it will be different? If it's pure writing, or it's a part of a unit which has listening, speaking, reading, and then by the end of the lesson, it's writing. So
it depends on the time you have and the objective you decided.
I follow the same steps or the same stages?
Wait. There is no one single answer to this. It depends on your context. In order to go to that direction,
عمال يقول اسراء وانا ما بردش.
لا انا كنت بقول لك اقفلي الكاميرا بس. So I'll have to, I just need to mute you all, guys. And I need somebody to help with admitting late people. I'm sorry, I will have to mute you. And if you have a question relevant to the area I'm talking about, type it in the chat box. So again, the reason behind this session is to give you a brief idea on how to use the model approach in writing and actually in speaking. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to answer irrelevant questions. If you're asking about your teaching context, we can talk about that in another session. So allow me to finish the stages of a writing lesson. So these are the stages of a writing lesson that might take 1 hour. I mean, this lesson, if it is done well scaffoldedly, and if you're going to support the students to the maximum, that might take up to 1 hour with intermediate or even a higher level. Okay. So I'm sorry if I'm not accommodating all questions. I will accommodate the questions that relate only to the session. And other questions you can send me as usual. You can text me. I will answer as soon as possible. But today is about writing using the model approach. The model approach. Communicative is a very wide term. Yes, all teaching methodologies nowadays are communicative, as long as there is a task that is communicated at the end, because the definition to the communicative approach is really wide. So please, let's stay focused on the model approach in writing. هنقعد بقى نقول أسامي كل الابروتشز اللي نعرفها ولا احنا عايزين نركز في writing and speaking? And this can be task-based as well. So if you look at the lead-in stage, so why are we doing the lead-in stage and how? Why? I always, when I write a lesson plan before I go teach any lesson, I need to know, I need to ask myself this question: why am I doing this stage? So the reason is my stage aim here is to set the context and activate students' schematic knowledge. What is schematic knowledge? What they really know about the topic. What they know about the topic. Only model approach, because if I speak about the other approaches, you know, that needs a course. So how to teach writing can be a course in itself. So I try to provide you with the most practical approach that you can use effectively in your classrooms. Okay? Do you think I can teach productive skills in detail in one session? It needs a course, my friends. So I'm going to give you practical ideas that you can take and apply tomorrow. If you have a class tomorrow, you can apply it. That's why I'm taking you through a lesson in detail using the model approach. Okay? I hope I answered your question, Nurhan. So why do we do a lead-in stage in any lesson? Because we need to get the students quite interested in what we're saying. We get them to wear the English language hats because we live in an Arabic-speaking country, so they speak Arabic all the time. Once they enter the class, they need to be ready with something that really makes it interesting for them. The word schematic knowledge is, we can translate it into, you know, their background. It means their background knowledge, what they know in life in relevance to the topic we are discussing. So that was my aim for lead-in stage, for the lead-in stage. How am I going to achieve this aim? This is my procedure. If you look here, I wrote 4 steps to achieve this aim. The first one, hello everyone, who likes traveling here? Then I project some questions like, What countries would you like to visit, or have you visited? It depends. Which types of accommodation have you stayed in? Or if you haven't traveled before, where would you like to stay? If you want to find a holiday accommodation, who will you ask and where will you look? So I just project these 3 questions and ask them to discuss in pairs. Be careful, because some teachers keep asking each student in the classroom. This is not communicative. This is not communicative. If you ask each student, this is not student-centered. So you can tell them something about yourself quickly. Guys, I've traveled to 3 different countries. In 2015, I traveled to Lebanon. I stayed in a hotel called Al Hamra in Beirut. I liked it very much, but the internet was really expensive. I organized that, I answer this for them. Like, I give them an example in a minute. Don't exceed 1 minute talking about yourself. So personalize the topic about yourself, then ask them to ask and answer these questions in pairs. Maximize the student talking time, STT, and minimize teacher talking time, TTT. You need to minimize that to its lowest level. Whenever you are in a class, make sure that you speak less than your students. You need to clarify things, yes. You need to elaborate and scaffold things, yes, but try to be as much concise as possible. So instead of asking each student, you just tell them about yourself, give them a demo or demonstrate it. Then every 2 speak together, answer these questions in 3-4 minutes. That's a maximum of 5 minutes. Then once they finish, okay, guys, Ahmed, tell me about Basma. And now, Mahmoud, tell me about Kareem. You listen to like 3-4 students in another minute or 2, maximum 7-8 minutes in the lead-in stage. We haven't spoken about writing an email. We just pulled their legs tactfully in the topic of the day, which is about hotels and traveling and accommodation and stuff, without explicitly drawing their attention to the writing task they're going to do. Be careful when we say, guys, today we're going to write a text, or we're going to write an email to arrange for accommodation. That might put some students off. So be careful when you start like that. Just pull their legs into the lesson tactfully and get them to wear the English language hats, like in a decent way. So elicit the answers for the 3rd question. If you don't have time for the other questions, the 3rd question is our main target today. And state the aim of the lesson. Today we're going to write an email to arrange for accommodation. So do not shock them in the first, just tell them later on after they feel like motivated and interested in what you're saying or what you're doing. So this is the first stage today, our lead-in. And as you saw, I said why we do lead-ins in our lessons and how. I described the procedure in detail in points. If we move on to the 2nd stage, which is, if you remember, do you remember the 2nd stage, what it was? Can you type in the chat box? Excellent, excellent. Well done. Well done, everyone. Lovely. So I described the 2nd stage in few words. Do you remember what I'm going to do in the 2nd stage in the model? What I'm going to do with it or in it? Okay, yes, sir. What it was? Excellent, Dina. Okay. So am I going to show them the email and tell them that you're going to write something like this? Or am I going to design a simple reading task that implicitly makes them notice the organization without even knowing? What do you think? So a reading task, or just explicitly say, this is what you're gonna do. Lovely. Okay, Myrna. And Iman, well done. Heidi, excellent, excellent. Well done, Yasser. Ahmed. Okay, fantastic. So allow me to show you the... وانا مقرب من الكاميرا قوي كده ليه؟ I'm sorry guys. حاسس انا بعد ما لغيت الشير وش طلع لي خضني. الله يكون في عونكم. This is the reading task, or this is the text or the email I'm going to provide them with. So as you notice, it looks like an email. So this is the subject. Of course, there will be a space for the receiver or the recipient. Hello, or dear sir. And it's a real email taken from the internet. So the first thing I tried to do was to find an authentic email on the internet or in a book. Then my idea how to make them read it was actually very simple. I divided the students into groups of 3 or 4. Depends how many you have, but I believe that the maximum is 4 to give them a good chance to share. Once you increase the number in the group, the share of each one will be very limited. The input of each one will be very limited. The second step is to give each group this email in a form of cut-ups, like some slips of paper. Like I cut the introduction, I cut the middle, like the second paragraph, the third paragraph, and the closing. So they needed to rearrange these these paragraphs or these cut-ups in order to make a complete email. Of course, you can use another reading task by asking how many rooms did Nell book, or does Nell need for his accommodation? How many people are going to stay there? And you can include 3-4 questions that really do not require much reading. And you can develop the reading sub-skills, or one sub-skill, genuine sub-skill or genuine task to develop a sub-skill. So if I'm going to talk about reading here, I might ask them to answer some questions about the number of people, about the number of rooms, about the name of the sender, or the name of the one who is arranging this accommodation. If you notice, the 3 questions do not really require much reading. They will just look through the text and apply a very important sub-skill that some teachers do not really apply. Can you tell me the name? If I'm searching for a name, if I'm searching for a number, if I'm searching for a price, if I'm searching for a date, what am I actually doing? What kind of sub-skill I'm practicing here? Okay, I need more answers. No, I need one of them. It's either skimming or scanning. It's one of them. It's not both. Well done, Sarah. Well done, Nurhan, Heidi, Sandy, Dina. Okay, so there is nothing called specific details except in Jim Scrivener's book. He's the only author that used this term. It's a specific information. This is the right terminology for it. So if you're searching for, and allow me to elaborate a little bit more here. Stop sharing. If you're searching for a name, it starts with a capital letter, a name of somebody, like somebody's name, or a name of a country, a name of a place. So these nouns, these items can be scanned for based on the capital letter that they start with. So I'm searching for a name, scanning for a name, or for a word that starts with a capital letter. I'm not actually reading. That's why some people find the reading in IELTS challenging. So when the question is asking about specific information that are distinguished in the text, you're not actually reading, you are scanning. Yes, it's a reading sub-skill, but it requires a certain strategy, which is just ignoring everything. If you are searching for a price, I sometimes look for the symbols that, you know, the dollar sign or the dollar symbol or the euro or the English pound, the sterling. So I do not look for words. I do not read word for word. I just look for the sign because I'm searching for a price. That will make you find it very easily and very quickly. But once I find the price, I just don't take the answer and go write it in the answer sheet. I just read around the price. If it is what I want, I take it. If it is not, I continue scanning. I continue scanning. I do not read word for word or each line and think about, oh my God, this is a very difficult word, and contemplate about the meaning. احنا عندنا مشكلة ان احنا اول ما بنلاقي كلمة صعبة ممكن نسيب الهدف الأساسي ونقعد نفكر فيها. يا ترى دي معناها ايه؟ طب انت هدفك دلوقتي تخلص، تطلع الرقم، تطلع الاسم. Once you found a capital letter, like a word that starts with a capital letter, okay, this is Rami Malek. No, he's not asking about the actor. He needs the director. So you continue scanning for a word that starts with a capital letter. That will save you a lot of time and effort. So you give them like a simple reading task. Allow me to go back to our main topic, which is writing. So this model is just to raise the students' awareness of the organization and the layout. This is why I am giving them the model. So with each stage today, I'm going to explain why and how. So what is the stage? The stage at hand now is the model stage or the exposure stage. We are exposing them to the same or to the targeted email that they're going to produce at the end. They're going to write at the end. So it's a reading task, or we can call it exposure. We can call the stage a model or the model stage. Why and how? This is why it's highlighted in green. To raise their awareness of the organization and layout of a formal email through a simple reading task. This simple reading task is up to you. As long as it is not going to take much time, yes, you are developing a reading sub-skill, but this is a byproduct. This is a side plate. Don't just exaggerate it. Don't focus so much on it because we need to see the production. This is our target. So if you go to a restaurant and they give you like 5 different types of salad and you eat them all, the main dish will be it will be very unfair for it. So you might get full before you get the main dish. So this is not the main dish here. The model is just an example provided. Yes, we are developing a reading sub-skill, but as a byproduct or as a side plate is not our main objective. So once they finish arranging, I will monitor, while they are arranging the slips, I'm going to monitor and offer help if needed. Then finally, I will ask each group to check with each other, or maybe I just hand them the complete email to check their answers. Now they have the complete model. let's move on to the following stage. Do you remember its name? Can you type it in the chat box? Wow, very well done. Very well done. Yes. So the third stage is the genre analysis and the useful language. This is the name of the stage. I'm sorry, I had to prepare this presentation or this slide in the middle of too much headache and work. This actually was prepared before, like in 1 hour or less. So I'm sorry for the design is not really attractive, but at least the information in it might help. Yes, well done, everyone. Well done. Yes, you can divide them. Yes, yes, sir. So Sandy said genre analysis, it can be a stage in its own or by its own, and Nurhan, the genre analysis can be another stage. Well done. Thank you, Mahmoud, for saying that. So the genre analysis can be a stage and the useful language can be a separate stage. Just all stages link to each other. Like they're coherent. Each stage is another brick in the building. Thank you, Nurhan. Thank you, Dina. Lovely. So why we do the genre analysis and the useful language stage? Actually, we need to help our students notice the components of this genre and raise their awareness of topic-related lexes. So well done, guys. When you spoke about the important vocabulary, your ideas are absolutely great and relevant. Well done. So the word genre is imported from French, and it means the type or the kind of writing. So type or kind, it's an academic word that means kind of writing or type of writing. And it's pronounced genre. Genre means type or kind. So honestly speaking, the first two questions will help them analyze the genre. So again, I will ask my students, was it only one paragraph full of requirements and questions? I'm asking about the task or the text at hand, like the text they got as a model or as an answer key for the rearranging task. They received the email in full in order to check the order they made. So I asked them, was it only one paragraph? Was the email, I mean, one paragraph full of requirements and questions, and I wait for their answers. Of course, I divided these steps or these cut-ups in a certain way. So the introduction paragraph was on a slip or on a cut-up. Then the requirements was in another paragraph. The further information was in another paragraph, and the closing was the fourth paragraph. When they ordered that, they already noticed that we had 4 paragraphs. So I write these components after I elicit from them. I write them on the board. Then I ask them a question. Guys, when we send an email asking for information, what do we say? It's okay for them to go and look at the text or at the email, the model they have, and give me ideas. And of course, it will be great, actually, to give them more than what's in the email. So if the email used, I'd like to know whether blah, 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 or could you let us know blah, blah, blah. Can I pay by credit card? Can I pay in cash? Is there a swimming pool? Because these, actually the requirements or these questions asking for information, you can use different structures to ask for information. If the email has one or two, you can add one or two more. It depends on the level. If you're teaching this to a higher level of students, you can add two more ways of asking for information. If you're teaching this to pre-intermediate or lower, what's in the email will suffice, what will help them write. So do not overwhelm them. But if they're hungry for more, give them more. That depends on the level again. And you write this. Honestly speaking, allow me to show you how I do it. I need to share my whiteboard. So this is my board. I normally divide it into 3/3. So the third, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, my nervous system is not working very well because I don't sleep well. I'm sorry. Allow me to use a line that doesn't need my nervous system. Okay. So I give them like asking for this is on the board. I'm providing them with a written record on the board. That's when students or after the lesson, you will find the students actually taking pictures of your board. So how do we ask for information, guys? And I wait for them to answer. You can look at the text in your hand and tell me. So they look at the text. Where's the presentation? Okay, so I'd like to know whether I write this on the board for them in a different color. And of course, they have an example in the handout or in the worksheet, or let's say the email they received. Please let us know about what else, guys? I elicit from them and write on the board. Is there blah, blah, blah. So these are 3 ways to ask for information. So what else do we have in the email? So I ask my students, what else do we need to say? So they will say our requirements. If they didn't say that, no problem. If you couldn't elicit it, don't over elicit it. You say it. Because some teachers turn elicitation into a puzzle. If the students do not know, just say it. Your job is to ask. Excellent. Thank you, Nisma. That's a good question. Of course, you will ask it if you need a conference room. So stating requirements. And if you notice, I use my markers. I use my red markers to provide them with subheadings. I use blue marker or black markers to write the useful language. And I punctuate correctly on the board. So how do we state requirements? Can you look at the requirements paragraph, each one? This is to my students in the class. Okay. These are our requirements, and you can put them in a list. These are our requirements. I'm teaching them how to write a list. This is one item. How else can we state requirements, or what else can we say here? We need the following. Lovely. Then, so students are provided with what actually they need. So they have now two ways to state the requirements in the email. What else do we need to speak about or to write about in such email? I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. Let me check. Yes, Heidi, please ask. Yes, it's recorded, Radwa. Don't worry. So you can type your question, Heidi. I'll come back to it. So what else do we need to help them with? Actually, what else do students need? Because we care about their needs more than our needs. So language related to the topic. So rooms, beds, food. Okay, we can do that. Sorry. Sorry, again. Food. So when you when we talk about food at hotels, what kind of words do we need? Have you seen this before? Don't know what's wrong. So you can provide them with what they need actually to speak or to write about food. It is not shared. Isn't it shared, my screen?
No, it is shared.
So with the red and blue markers used colors? Because I would have hated myself if after I did all that.
Yeah. Everything is shared. Everything is shared. You see all of this.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what else do we need to write about? Actually, we need to tell them about beds and so on. So allow me to go back to it was shared from the early beginning. I just can't write on the whiteboard without it being shared. Yes, talk about the cost. Whatever they need to write about, can be introduced in the useful language stage. Genre analysis, what is it composed of, and the language they need, the structure they need, the functional language they need, the vocabulary they need. So that will take around 15 to 20 minutes out of the hour. But it's worth it, because once you finish the useful language stage, you will provide them with the task. They will be able to organize it and write it the way you want them to do, or the right way. And they will actually take a picture of the board. Whenever they need to arrange for accommodation, they will go back and visit your lesson. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'll share the stage again. So the first two steps in the genre analysis and the useful language stage were about the genre, how it is organized, and the components. Then the useful language, so language to ask for information, if you need to ask, and if you need to state your requirements. And I showed you how I provide them with support on the board, and language related to the topic here, rooms, beds, and anything that is relevant, food. And when they need to ask about prices, all inclusive, that means also drinks. So write these useful chunks on the board as a written record for the students. If time allows, invite students to write them on the board, something that will help kinesthetic students move around. So do you see how I describe my lesson plan? The lesson plan is a good one when you give it to another teacher and you go back home sure and reassured that this teacher will not need to call you and ask you for more elaboration, what to do and what and when and how long and stuff like that. So you provide them with every piece of information they need to do the lesson the same way you want it to happen. So I write it in detail. Radwa, you do not need to worry about the recording now. Enjoy what's at hand, then ask about the recording later, please. Okay, so we analyzed the genre and we provided them with the useful language on the board. Then we can really ask them to rate. So I project the writing stage. Again, why we do it, how we do it. So why we do it: to help them practice writing an email to arrange accommodation or arrange for accommodation. Lovely. Do you think this task will help them one day? If they're going to travel, if they're going to send this email to a hotel in a foreign country. So this task is what we call authentic. Tasks that mirror real life are called authentic tasks. Things that we really need in our lives. So I projected the task on the screen. Then I wrote an email. I asked them to write an email on behalf of your family, 6 adults, including you, and a 4-month-old baby, to arrange for a 5-day accommodation. Students will work individually, and I'll give them a time limit of 7 minutes. Why 7 minutes? Because it was really well scaffolded and they were supported, and whenever they need to ask for information, they can look at the board and take a glance and help themselves. If they need to state requirements, they know what to do. If they need to write about food or beds or rooms, they know where to go. So it was very well scaffolded, and they will go out with like more awareness related to this type of emails. Of course, when they are writing, you can monitor. And when I say monitor, I mean you look at what they're doing, and you might provide help on the spot and error correction on the spot. Because this is not a fluency activity, it is not speaking, so you can point at problems and even tell them. This is a good chance for micro teaching. If you know that you have like 3 or 4 slow students, these students are quite struggling. So you can monitor everyone, but once you go to this slow student, you can help, you can provide them with ideas, you can point at mistakes and help them fix it in a nice way, of course. Do not scandalize them, like in a very nice way and in a very sensitive way. I know I'm not very sensitive today because of the work pressure. That's why I tried to focus on the session, and I'm sorry if I snapped or if it felt like I'm stopping you from asking. I'm not stopping you from asking. I just want to keep it relevant and to the point because I want to finish it all. Thank you for understanding. So the final step or the final stage is feedback. We agreed that we have some stages: lead in, exposure or model, the reading one, then the useful language and the genre analysis, then the writing, then finally feedback. So why we do feedback is to provide a further, or to provide the students with a further opportunity for peer teaching and learning. So they learn from each other's emails. So the first step is asking them to swap. Sorry. Allow me to take a sip of water. So asking them to swap these emails, then they check if they include. So I'll give them like simple criteria to help them assess each other. Requirements, questions for further information, and so on. And they might ask them to check if there is vocabulary related to food, related to beds and rooms and so on. And of course, you can touch on the register, the level of formality, or, you know, if it is formal or informal. This is what we call register in the genre analysis, if it is important. Okay, that's the end of the writing part. I hope it was useful, and I'd like to touch on the speaking as well. If you have any questions, please ask before I move on to speaking. Thank you, Radwa. Yes, Heidi, please ask. I'm sorry I didn't get the question up there. You're most welcome, Nurhan. Don't go anywhere. I still have something to say. So yes, please, was about a question, Heidi, or was about moving on to the speaking? Of course, that was just an example, Sandy. That was an example of how you teach writing using the model approach. We have model approach, we have process approach, we have genre approach. So the most famous two are the model approach and the process approach. And as I said in the beginning, I am a big fan of the model approach. Yes, I will unmute but please, if you have noise around you, keep your mic off. So I gave you the permission to unmute yourselves.
Yes,
But
Mr.
if you have,
Mohammed.
yes, Heidi.
Yeah. So my question is, you said that I can allow my students to write individually. So this is because this is too relevant to in a writing session, writing an email. This is a very short format of writing. So if I'm teaching them writing essay, for example, so I can allow my students to work in pairs or in groups. Am I right?
Yes, of course, somebody can write the introduction, somebody else can write the advantages paragraph, somebody else can write the disadvantages paragraph.
But you
But
said
as
that?
long as,
Yes.
wait, as long as you clarified how to do this previously.
Okay.
Maybe last week you clarified how they write introduction. Next week you clarified how to write about advantages and the language needed to clarify advantages.
Okay.
Later on, and by the end of the month or by the end of the semester or the course, now they are going to provide a complete essay in the session or in the lesson itself.
Okay.
Yes, you can divide them into groups and everybody is responsible for one section. So there are so many ways to do that. Sometimes you can divide the whole group into the whole class into groups.
Okay.
And
Yes.
each group will write each person in the group will write one advantage, for example. So
yes.
the variables are countless. How you do it, techniques, but I'm talking about the overall picture of the model approach.
Yes, I know there's tons of techniques. I'm asking about بس إن هو writing email. That's why I allow my students to write individually. Yeah, to monitor their production, how they understand write email. That's why I'm asking. عشان ده short form of writing.
Excellent. And even if it was a long form of writing, at one point, this student will have to write the complete essay. So it is not always like group work. As long as they're able to do this, one person wrote the introduction, that doesn't mean he can't write the second paragraph or the body paragraph. That doesn't mean he can't. Because at one point, this same student will have to write all of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure to meeting you today, and it was very beneficial session, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi. Are you leaving?
No, I'm waiting.
So if you have more questions about writing, and I prefer to keep them quite relevant to the model approach, عشان أنا عندي مبدأ اللي هو the more is not the merrier if not focused. If I talk to you about all writing approaches, you will go back home. You're at home now. You will go back to your classes with hazy pictures about approaches. So today we focused on the model approach, which is this is a very famous one and a very, let's say, student-friendly approach. Let me put it this way. It's a very student-friendly approach.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, Radwa.
Regarding the process of writing, which is a production, can we start as a groups and then pairs and then individual? And how can I give them the feedback? This is my two questions.
Okay. Of course, they can work in groups while brainstorming. Then they move into, or in pairs while brainstorming. Then they move into the writing itself, which can be individual or groups, as I spoke with Heidi like a minute ago. It depends on the density of the task. And for feedback, of course, if you teach in a large class, like 50 students, feedback on the spot will be quite daunting. It won't be easy. But if them language to ask for information and some vocabulary related to food, beds and rooms and so on, you can just, while monitoring, you can check for that. And once they swap their emails, you can provide them with criteria like the components of the email and the language used, and one or two structures. They search for that and they assess each other's emails based on the criteria, the very clear criteria on the board. And later on, when they take back their own emails or essays or whatever, you can give them a final linguistic feedback on the board. Like you give them final linguistic feedback by commenting on the common problems in the writing. So you taught them, if one email didn't include closing, like he just stated the requirements, is it a good email? You can ask this question.
This
They will
happens
say,
in the next session.
no, the same session. It takes 5 minutes after they finish. After they finished, they swapped and they assessed each other, and that was a good chance for them to get exposed to each other's writing and learn from each other. And while monitoring, you collected some pieces of information about the common problems. You praise them on the board. You say, guys, you produced excellent emails today. This was a sentence taken from one of the emails. Beautiful. But what about this sentence? And you write a sentence that includes a mistake. What about this one? And I'd like it very much if this sentence or if this mistake or this error relates to the language you taught, not the language in general. So you can't fix everything at once. At least you taught them language to ask for information and they made a mistake with it, or somebody made a mistake with it. You choose this one very specifically, other than subject-verb agreement in general, because subject-verb agreement can be covered another time. But the language you taught, it will be highly appreciated if the feedback is completely relevant to what you taught that day.
Okay, and then I can to concentrate more on this, I can ask them for an assignment, and they can send the emails for me.
Why not? If you have if you have time for that, of course, that would be great. Yes, of course, that would be great.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Ahmed,
Mr.
بيقول لي
Mohammed.
thank you. Are you leaving? You're most welcome, Radwa. Ahmed, you're thanking me. That means you're leaving, right? Okay. So I've got some questions for you to discuss in breakout rooms, but you promised me to speak to each other because I monitored some rooms. Some people were just passing the time silently. I don't know why. So actually, I have a weird question. Like the first question is quite weird. What is not speaking in the classroom? If you are teaching a speaking lesson, what is not speaking? Students are speaking now, but it is not considered a speaking task. Allow me to give you an example because that will help you. If the students are reading answers aloud, they are not speaking. Okay, this is one example. Okay, the answer to number 3, and a student is reading what he answered, like it was why did Naguib Mahfouz win Nobel Prize, for example? And they wrote because he wrote blah blah blah. So Ahmed, the answer to question number 3, Ahmed is responding. So he won Nobel Prize because blah blah blah. This is not speaking. This is feedback. It's not a speaking task. Okay, this is one example. We have 2 more questions, and I actually didn't answer all the questions. I didn't provide you with all the answers to number 1. So please, when I send you to breakout rooms, try to spend 1 minute on number 1 and maybe 2 minutes on number 2 and 1 minute on number 3. So I'll give you 5 minutes all in all. Don't spend them all in one question. Thank you for saying that, Ahmed. I really appreciate it. I hope it wasn't a waste of your time. Allow me to send you now to breakout rooms. So I decide the time, 5 minutes. I will not allow you to return to the main session, because if you finish before 5 minutes, that means you didn't answer thoroughly. So you need to spend at least 5 minutes answering these questions. So welcome back. Okay, people are arriving. Welcome back, everyone. In order to save your time, I'm going to do this one like in a teacher or a trainer centered way and provide you with the answers. And I know some of you just deliver the correct answer already. So what is not speaking? I know it is kind of a weird question, but reading aloud is not a speaking task. It's quite pronunciation. It is not a very good pronunciation activity. So we have so many ways to help them with pronunciation other than reading aloud, which is not a good one. It's a big no-no in modern ELT, like English language teaching. The answer to a grammar question, this is accuracy, not speaking. Reading the answers to a reading or a listening question, this is comprehension, or it depends on the type of, of the task. In each of these cases, the aims are not speaking related. And this is taken from David Riddell, the EFL teacher. So speaking is either a task or an activity designed to give or to promote fluency or to give practice of something you taught. Like if you taught them a lesson about personality adjectives, at the end of the lesson, you design a task to help them use these adjectives in an authentic task. And of course, you know, I do that on the TEFL courses and CELTA preparation courses that I deliver. So you know, in the vocab session, I tell you how to use this finally in a productive task, speaking or maybe writing. When you teach present perfect simple, you need to end it with freer practice where they use it freely in writing or in speaking, and try to keep your tasks authentic. What about the second question? What's the teacher's role before, during, and after a speaking activity? Before here can be before he goes to class, like in the teacher's room, or before the students speak in the classroom. What's the stage right before the speaking itself? So when you are planning for a speaking lesson, you need to ask yourself what your aim is and why you want students to speak. So thinking about the rationale or the reason, the why. Why is important in teaching? Why am I doing this? Of course, if you ask students to speak about their experience in relevance to desalination of seawater, why are you doing this to them? It's a dull topic. So you need to choose a topic that is really interesting for them. Choose an activity that is suitable for their level and interests. Again, anticipate any possible problems and give clear instructions with open pair demonstration if possible. And if you do not know what open pair demonstration is, you can visit TEFLism YouTube channel. There is a short video about open pair demonstration. Arrange the class and give an approximate time limit and give a specific task. What do I mean by specific? You can't say, guys, interview each other. One of you will be the employer and the other one will be the candidate who needs a job. Let's go. Talk about this interview or talk about your experience related to traveling. So you need to give them some prompts. If it is about traveling, where did you go or where do you want to go? Who do you want to go with and why? And of course, you can add why with each one or most of them. When are you planning to go or when did you travel if it was in the past? How often do you travel? And so on. You provide them with some ideas generating questions. Okay, so what about during? You need to remove yourself a little bit from the central position of the room. Do not just go very close and try to listen, because they will just lower their voices and it will be very difficult for you. Try to monitor inconspicuously, like try to be inconspicuous, like quite invisible, because we are quite intimidating when the students are speaking around us. The affective filter goes up. So you need to, as much as you can, I know it's really challenging, but as much as you can just withdraw yourself a little bit from the central point. Turn on suitable background music if you and your students like the idea. It doesn't have to make them struggle while listening to each other. It can be very calm. Monitor to ensure everyone has understood, because when you are listening to what's happening, you will check the quality of your instructions. If you provided them with clear instructions, they would be able to, digest, then produce what you want or do what you want. Make sure that everybody is speaking, because some students just, once you are not looking, they play with their phones, especially the demotivated ones. Make sure that they're using English. And somebody can ask me, what if they're not using English? Like, you just simply tell them, guys, we speak Arabic all day and outside the classroom. Here is the only chance to improve our language. You paid money to improve your English, not your Arabic. So please speak in English. And you can do something like, when you put them in a group, like every 3 or every 4 together, you can give them some points or some credit, like the first group, or the apples, the oranges, the bananas, the strawberries, and so on. You can give them names and you give them some points whenever one of them speaks an Arabic word. And these points can be done on the board this way. Allow me to show you. Guys, the bananas got like 5 points. Everybody got 5 points, like with your marker. So once you hear somebody in the group speaking in Arabic, you remove a point. So that will make them, it's like group work now, and everybody will be responsible for the whole group. So that might encourage them to not to speak any Arabic, not to use Arabic. So maybe you give them a card at the end acknowledging the group that didn't speak any Arabic at all, or I mean the mother tongue or the native language. So there are some ideas to help with that. Sometimes, I said like 2 minutes or 3 minutes ago, if you are observing or monitoring a speaking task, you need to not to intervene or interfere with the activity in order not to hinder the fluency. What about if you found a student stuck and searching for words? Now you can intervene tactfully, providing them with words or with ideas. But you do not have to hinder it if it is going smoothly. If they are stuck, yes, help. Okay, don't join in on or interrupt or correct errors at this stage. You just need to collect them. Collect, then correct after it's done. Do not allow one student or two to dominate the activity. Try to encourage everybody. And as I said, discreetly collect examples of their language. I didn't say collect errors only. Look at the final point, examples of their language. So you need to praise the good use of language. You tell them, great guys, I heard some excellent sentences today. And you give them like 2 or 3 examples on the board. Then you ask them, what about this sentence? And elicit the correction. So the 3rd sentence or the 4th one would include an error that happened while they're speaking. Then you elicit the correction from them. Do not start with the mistakes. Start with something really they achieved well. They really achieved well. So after. allow time to get some content feedback from the class. So before you just give linguistic, let's assume that the activity ended. So they spoke and they did the task and they are ready for feedback. If you just go directly to linguistic feedback, that will tell them that the teacher is kind of a robot who doesn't care about what happened, about the content and the humanistic side of the task. So what do I mean by content feedback? I actually ask one student about his friend. So Nada, tell me about Nurhan, for example. So Nada says Nurhan would like to travel to this country because she wants to blah, blah, blah. So this is content feedback. What happened in the discussion or the speaking task? Then Nurhan, what about Nada? Of course, you don't have to go through all the students and ask each one what happened, what did you talk about, what did your friend say, and so on. Like 3, 4, 5 students max, if you don't have time. More if you do have time, no problem. Then you move on to, and of course, you show genuine interest in what they talked about. That will help them feel like you are a human being who really cares about them. This is a humanistic side of teaching. Then, as I said, praise their language, and on the board, write some good sentences you heard while monitoring, then write some examples of errors and elicit the correct form from the class without nominating. Don't say, Magid made this mistake. What do you think the correct sentence is? Magid will just feel very bad. So don't do that. Do not nominate when it comes to errors. I know that you studied that one way or another, but I'm just, making sure. What kinds of speaking activities? We have like 4 famous types here, like ranking activities. Okay, guys, I want you to rank the 10 most favorite meals or the 10 most whatever, like free time activities, or the 5 main activities you like doing. So number 1 will be the one you like most, and number 5 will be the one you do least or like least. It depends. What about debates? Also another idea for, it doesn't work for each lesson. You can, if you're teaching them about cooking, like a text about Jamie Oliver, for example, you can end it in who cooks best, men or women. Then you provide them with some ideas. Then you put them in groups. You divide them who agrees that men cook better than women and who agrees with the other idea. Then you let those prepare for the debate, and the others are also preparing for the debate. Then they work in pairs, every 2 together, or the groups work together. Role plays like an interview, discussions like the questions about the countries you want to travel to and why, and so on. Presentation is also acceptable, but it doesn't reflect a very authentic way of speaking because it's a monologue. You're speaking to many. Yes, you can do it. You can do it. But I prefer authentic tasks. But sometimes, according to logistic reasons, we can't, end the course in like a speaking task when people speak together, like the PET exam or something. So we resort to the presentation mode, but it's acceptable. It gives you an indication about what the students can say or can do while speaking, but make sure that they are not reading from the slides because, again, this is not speaking. Thank you very much for your patience, and please keep in touch. This is my profile. You will find all social media. If you click on, or if you type this in the browser, you can find my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, the YouTube channel. You can just type this in the browser the same way it's written. You can keep in touch with me. And I am sorry if I'm not responding quickly these days. I know that people who know me well, I respond once I see the message, but nowadays I'm doing so many things. That's why I'm not really
Yeah, I
on
gotta
time.
be by your side, Dr. Muhammad. Yes,
Thank
thank you so much. And I think that all people agree with me when I say this is one of the most beneficial session I've ever attended.
thank you
Thank
for
you, and thank you for your time.
allow me to apologize for Nurhan and Radwa like in person, because when they asked about something quite away from model approach, I said let's focus. Maybe I wasn't that considerate when I was saying that. That was out of my worry and concern to finish everything I prepared. And مش عايز
Okay.
اقعد
Yeah,
مش
No
عايز اقعد
worries.
الناس كتير. ده كان خوفي، ان انا مش عايز اقعد الناس كتير. لو دخلنا في مواضيع التيتشنج من جماله الكلام فيه ما بيخلصش.
No worries.
فانا اسف ان انا يعني صممت ان هي
No,
تبقى على
I
عايز
do
حد يكون
have,
زعلان.
yes, I do have rheumatoid, so writing in the chat box wasn't that good. So I was asking you which is more effective, using modeling while writing, while teaching writing, using modeling approach, or using task-based communicative approach. That was my question. Which is more effective? That's it.
More effective modeling, the model approach, or
My voice was lagging or what?
I couldn't get the second one. Model approach or
Task-based communicative approach.
so task-based can be writing, can be speaking. So the task-based approach is a bigger umbrella for teaching. So the end product can be actually this is a task. So
Yes.
this is a very generic. This
As
is a very generic term. But the model is when you provide them with something that they can analyze and get information from.
Okay.
The task-based works for speaking and works for writing. But the writing approaches are three: genre, product, and process. The product is another name for the model approach, because they have the product in their hands first. Then they learn how to analyze it and produce it at the end.
Yes. Thanks a
And so
lot.
sorry for the rheumatoid thing. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Thank you, Ahmed, Nisma, Yasser. Thank you, everyone. I will share the PowerPoint with Mr. Mahmoud Salim,
yes.
and he's free to do to share it, or I'm not sure about the policy, but I'll share it with them.
Okay, no problem. Once you share it with me, I will send to all of people here on the Google Classroom we have.
Thank you very much for your patience, and I hope that I didn't waste your time.
No, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Thank you for your time and for your effort. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.